Hello again, everybody. My name is John D. Healy. I do a podcast. It's called It's Good to Talk. Produced a book from my friend, Tony McGurn. He was born in 1941. He's still alive and doing well. My sponsor, Liffey Van Lines, a moving company here in New York City. They've been around longer than Jeopardy, one of the better moving companies in New York City. Yes, they do move pianos. Shout out to the Irish Examiner USA, Paddy McCarthy, a paper for local news and music events, and you can get it on irishexaminerusa.com. I always have interesting guests on. Today, my guest is Bonnie Preston, and she's going to tell us about her story and a book that she's produced called 9.5 Months. Bonnie, good morning. You're welcome to me here. You're in some other part of the world, and I'm in New York City. How are you, Bonnie?
Yes, good morning, John. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome to be on my podcast. So tell me about the book, 9.5 Months. I don't think it took you 9.5 months to write the book, but tell us where you were born yourself first.
Born in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay. You lived in New York City, did you?
Yes, I lived in New York City after I graduated from college in Colorado. I moved to New York City to be a writer, and that was back in the 1980s.
Okay. So tell us your story in the 1980s in New York. I understand the book is about a baby you had that was almost aborted. So I want you to tell my listeners the story from the beginning, or before the beginning. You didn't just get pregnant. It takes two to tango, right?
Yes. So I went out to New York City to pursue my dreams of being a writer, and I had acquired a good editing and writing position at Condé Nast Publications. I was writing for Women magazine, and I was doing freelance writing poetry. I had a boyfriend out in New York City, and things didn't work out with us. And so I just was focusing on my career and my writing. And then a good friend of mine introduced me to a friend, and we were good friends. We'd go out to the beach and we would hang out. And he was living in Long Island and I was in New York City, and we started a friendship. And then it progressed, and then it was actually just one encounter, and I became pregnant. He was not prepared to be a father, even though I was 26, he was in his 30s. I knew him several months as friends, and we dated for 9 months.
Okay. Would you say you were in love with him?
Yes, I was.
You were in love with him, okay. Because I read in the book, his name is Lee. His name pops up a lot. You were 20-something, he was 30-something. So
Right.
what happened, apart from the obvious? You got pregnant.
Yes. So I was trying. I made a mistake. I wanted to wait. I was raised Catholic, and I didn't plan to have sex, but it happened, and I think we both were feeling a little guilty for it. He was Irish Catholic as well, and then he just couldn't deal with it, and he ghosted me. He stopped calling. I couldn't get a hold of him. He left me to deal with the pregnancy on my own. I even called his mother and I told his mother that I was pregnant, and she really was not interested in hearing about the story. And he just vanished. He vanished, and
Okay.
I could not get a hold of him, so I was on my own.
Okay. So we'll come back to him in a moment or two. Maybe yes, maybe no, as long as we don't vanish. So now you're pregnant. Where do you go for help?
So I went to my doctor. I had good health insurance, so I went to my OBGYN gynecologist, and I had a test to confirm that I was indeed pregnant, which I was. And at that time, I was young. Since Lee had left, I considered my options, and one of them was abortion, because I didn't think I could raise a baby by myself. And so
Okay.
I just had an appointment, and he said, "Well, it's too early. Come back and see me in 2 weeks." So 2 weeks later, I went back and I saw the doctor, and they did a sonogram on my belly, and I heard the baby's heartbeat, and I started to cry, and I said, "I can't stop a beating heart. I can't." kill a baby.
No.
I can't end this pregnancy. He said, "You're too emotional." He goes, "Come back, we'll talk about options." So I left. And in the story, a mysterious cab driver picks me up, and
Okay.
this woman kind of speaks prophetically into my life, how I'm going to be a good mother. And in the book progresses, I feel like God orchestrated events to bring me on this journey, people to help me to get through the pregnancy.
Okay. So after the cab driver had to bring you someplace too. Where to after that? Your
The
Irish
cab
American
driver
Lee or
brought,
whatever his name was,
well, the cab driver
he's
brought me
out of
to
the
the Bronx,
picture, so you're on your own. The
to
Bronx. Okay, pick it up from
yeah,
there.
to the
Tell us what happened
Bronx.
then.
So then I told my roommate at the time, and she's in the book, Michelle. So I told her about the pregnancy, and she was concerned and upset and wanting to know what I was going to do. And I told her that I'm going to keep the baby. And so she was not prepared for that. So that was hard on our relationship because we shared an apartment in the Bronx. And then the next day, I went to my local church. We had a little Irish neighborhood, and there was like a pub and a Catholic church on every corner. So I went to St. Patrick's, and the Sunday I hadn't been to church in a while, and that Sunday I went, it happened to be pro-life Sunday, and so the priest
Okay.
was talking about the sanctity of life, and his name was Father Charlie Brown. And after
Mm.
the mass was over, I went to speak to him in the rectory, and I was crying, and I told him, that I was pregnant, that Lee had vanished, and I was alone. And so he talked to me, he counseled me, and he ended up helping me a lot through that pregnancy.
When I was reading your book 2 days ago, I was very impressed with Father Charlie Brown, as you call him. He,
Yes.
for sure, was a very, very good priest, very instrumental in the direction that you went from getting the news that you were pregnant, from Lee running away, your boyfriend at the time, some boyfriend, your roommate not being impressed with you bringing a baby into her apartment or your apartment. So you were really lucky and blessed to have met Father Charlie Brown. So tell us what happened after your meeting with Charlie Brown, Father Charlie Brown, sorry.
So Father Charlie Brown counseled me, and he assured me, I was making the right decision and that God would be with me and I wouldn't be alone. He actually gave me some money to help buy food. And then later through in my pregnancy, I would meet with him, and he bought me a train ticket to go up state to visit his parents, and his sister had gone through the same situation, unplanned pregnancy, a year before. So they'd been through this. So towards I think I was about 3 to 4 months pregnant. I went to visit his mom and dad and sister, and it was then when I was able to call my parents to tell them I was pregnant because I was too afraid to call them. And
Okay,
Father Charlie
how'd that
Brown's
go?
parents embraced me. And then I met his
When
sister
you
who had a
told your
baby.
parents, yeah, how were your parents when you told them?
My mom was, upset. She was sad. My dad was supportive. They both later on were very supportive. But in the beginning, it was just shock, and it was hard, them to accept. I'm the oldest, and so it was not what they planned for me.
Okay, all right. So what happened? You're up with Father Charlie Brown's parents. They're very warm and accepting. And how long did you stay with them?
I stayed with them for about that first weekend. It was just a long weekend, 3 days. And I got to know his
Okay,
sister, who kept her child,
okay,
a little boy. And we talked together because I was still considering giving the baby up for adoption. I was not sure I
okay,
was going to keep the baby. So I talked with her, and we went on walks, and I saw her with her son, and that kind of helped me
okay,
make my decision.
okay. And I just before I get Jimmy to sing a song, going back to when you were dating Lee, the handsome Irish guy, did you not use contraceptives or the pill or condoms, or was that
No,
against your
so
religion?
like I said, I was trying not to have my intent was not to have sex. I wanted to wait. it was a weak moment, and I was not on the pill. I did not have contraception.
Okay.
And it was just a mistake and a poor choice.
Right. Well, fortunately now it's different. The story has turned around
Yes.
from being something that was a mistake and a good mistake. So let me call Jimmy Grady to sing a
Okay.
song.
I skimmed across black waters without once emerging on to the banks of an urban morning that hungers the first light much, much more than mountains ever do. For she, like a ghost beside me, goes down with the ease of a dolphin and emerges unlearned, unchained, and harmed. For she is the perfect creature, natural in every feature, and I am the geek with the alchemist stone. For all of you who must discover, for all who seek to understand, for having left the path of others, you find a very special hand. And it is a holy thing, and it is a precious time, and it is the only way. Forget-me-nots among the snow, it's always been, and so it goes, to ponder his death and his life eternally. For all of you who must discover, for all who seek to understand, for having left the path of others, you find a very special hand. And it is a holy thing, and it is a precious time, and it is the only way. Forget-me-nots among the snow, it's always been, and so it goes, to ponder his death and his life eternally. One bright blue rose outlives all those 2,000 years, and still it grows, to ponder his death and his life eternally.
Jimmy, thank you. So Jimmy sang a beautiful song and he was very, very good. So coming back to you then, now you're at the stage, you're halfway through your pregnancy, you've made the decision you're going to keep your baby, you're not going to go through with the abortion, and let's pick up the story from there. My guest is Bonnie Preston. Her book is called 9.5 Months, and it's about a baby that she could have aborted, but she didn't abort it. I'm the youngest of 10, so I could have been an abortion. Some people think I'm an abortion, but I'm around. So let's pick up where you left off about after coming back from Father Charlie's parents and his sister, and you see his sister walking with a boy, a little boy, I assume, that could have been an abortion as well. So pick it up, tell us more from there.
So then I continued to meet with Father Charlie Brown, and I felt like my faith was growing. I was going back to church. I felt closer to God, and I felt God was working in me, and I felt showered with God's love. And I was starting to show at work, and people at work were supportive. And I had a friend at work who volunteered to be my Lamaze birthing partner. He said no woman should go through this alone. So he went with me through all my birthing classes, and he was there with my roommate in labor. So I felt like God just orchestrated people to help me get through, and I was just never alone. I had the help of, friends, and then my mom sent me some maternity clothes, and because I continued to work until up to my due date.
Okay. Well, you were lucky and blessed that you had good friends. I think in a time of crisis, it's a testing time to see who your real friends are, those that stay with you and those that run away, like fair weather friends. But things happen. Look at Bishop Casey in Ireland. He got Annie Murphy pregnant, and same thing. If I was talking to him, I'd say, why didn't you use contraceptive? Why didn't you use the pill? But the baby boy came along. They named him after the first pope in the world, Pope Peter. Peter is somewhere, I think, in Boston, as the young man, I hope. And Bishop Casey is deceased. It rocked the church, to say the least, and it rattled the Catholic faith. But if the bishop can make a mistake, I suppose you can make a mistake. So let's go pick up where you left off with your story. Bonnie Preston is my guest today. If you like my topic, subscribe. So pick up where we left off. Now you're 3 or 4 or 5 months into the pregnancy.
Right. So from here, I'm continuing to work and meeting Father Charlie Brown, and I'm continuing to have correspondence with his sister. And like I said, my coworkers have been supporting me through my Lamaze class. And so I was getting close to the time, it was getting close to the time of the birth. And I actually went in to the hospital, St. Vincent's down in Manhattan. They were doing a check of the baby, and I was late. I was past my due date, and they realized I was leaking amniotic fluid. So they said, we need to induce you. So that day I had not prepared to go into the hospital, but I was admitted. So then later on, my roommate had to bring my bag and my birthing, my clock for my contractions, and my friend from work who came, and it was a very long, tedious labor. And at the very end, I also had my neighbor, Sheila. She's from Ireland. She was there for me. She had 4 children of her own, and we would have tea almost every night. And she gave me baby clothes, and she was another person that God used to minister faith and hope and love to me. And she was present at the birth of my daughter. And at the very end, they were going to wheel me in for a C-section. And that's not what I wanted. And she was like, just one more wee push. And I pushed my daughter, Kayla, out. So
Kayla is the name of your daughter.
Yes, Kayla.
And Kayla must be in her 20s now, I guess. Kayla,
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
35.
Okay. Very good. Very good. So it's a sad and beautiful story all in one. It does explain a lot about the hardships in life, and then you climb one door closes and 2 doors open. I think you are blessed to have met Father Charlie,
Yes.
and you are blessed to have met a lot of good friends that were around you. But things happen. You look at President Trump when he was dating Marla Maples. I had Tom Fitzsimons on here. He wrote a book about all the shenanigans back then. I don't think Trump was planning to get Marla Maples pregnant, but Marla Maples' mother told Miss Maples to open her legs and try and get pregnant because, of course, Donald Trump was scratching his head. He didn't want this either. But anyways, Tiffany Trump is also a beautiful girl in her own right. So I met you only a week ago, and you were up for an occasion. Tell my listeners that.
So my daughter, Kayla, who I gave birth to in New York City, we eventually moved back to Colorado with my parents when she was a baby because I couldn't raise her alone in the city. But then she ended up going to college on a theater scholarship and pursued theater. And upon graduating, she moved to New York City herself. She became very involved in the world of theater and puppetry. The Very Hungry Caterpillar is a play off Broadway that she performed the large puppets in there, and she did many other theater productions in New York City. So she's lived there for 10 years, and
Okay, good.
a year and a half ago, she got married, and they reside on the
Okay.
Upper East Side. And I was
Mm.
recently there this weekend visiting for her baby shower. She's pregnant with a little girl.
Interesting. Little girl, that's sweet. That's very sweet. Well, I'm glad she got married and that she didn't get pregnant by a puppet.
Yes,
Because there's a lot of puppets out there that would get a young girl pregnant.
yes.
So that's where I met you. You were up for the occasion of the baby shower. So really nice to have met you. And if your daughter would like to be on a podcast, we could talk about puppetry. Why not? So on that note, I'm going to leave you soon. So tell me, Bonnie, where can people buy your book? I got it on Amazon. Is there a way, any other way of buying the book?
Yeah, so you may order a copy on Amazon, or you may go to my website, bonnieprestel.com, and I can send you an
Okay.
autograph.
Okay. Well, next time you'll autograph this copy.
I will.
So let me see. Have you anything else to add to your story?
I just want to encourage women who have an unplanned pregnancy that you're not alone. Don't give in to the fear. Turn to God and have faith, because God loves you and God will help you get through it. And He loves your baby. And it's the biggest blessing of my life to have my daughter. So I encourage you to ask.
That's encouraging. There's 40 to 50 million abortions in the world every year. So I can understand your message of hope. It's not easy for a young single mother on her own. You know, you were lucky, I think, to have Father Charlie. We're lucky to have good friends. But for other girls, maybe not easy. So I would be somebody who would give the young girl, you know, the option to be able to make a decision for herself
Yeah.
that probably best suits her own personal needs. And again, as I say, I'm the youngest of 10. I could have been an abortion, but here I am talking to you.
Yes.
So from one abortion to another abortion to say hello. Now tell me, you are a writer too. Do you have any other books coming out?
Yes, I do. I have a book coming out 2027, The Barker House. So it's a story based on a group of 5 people in transition in life, and they all end up at this historic castle that is haunted, and it's been changed into apartments, and it takes place in Manitou Springs, Colorado.
Interesting. Okay, we look forward to that.
Yeah.
So on that note, Bonnie, I'm going to say goodbye in my native language. I'll say slán, slán go fóill. Goodbye means goodbye, slán. Sin scéal agus béis go dtí sin gur maith agat. Thank you very much, Bonnie.
Thank you, John.